Casemiro is leaving or not leaving Manchester United because there is something we can do about it. Don't go, Casemiro, please. Here is a question for you. What do you do when one of your best players, a man who has rediscovered his best form and is literally carrying your midfield, tells you he is walking out the door at the end of the season? That is exactly the situation Manchester United find themselves in right now. Casemiro, the Brazilian warrior who looked finished just a year ago, has somehow turned back the clock under interim manager Michael Carrick. He is scoring goals, winning tackles, controlling games, and doing everything a top midfielder should do. The fans love him again. They are chanting his name. They want him to stay, but he is not staying. On May 5th, 2026, Casemiro sat down and told ESPN Brazil in the clearest possible words that there is no chance, zero possibility of him signing a new contract at Manchester United. His exact message was simple and final. He is leaving when his contract runs out at the end of the 2025 to 2026 season, and that is that. So how did we get here? Why is one of the best performers at Old Trafford this season walking away when United are heading back into the Champions League? And what happens next for both the player and the club? Let us break it all down. The story so far, from written off to player of the month. To understand why this exit is so emotional for United fans, you have to go back and remember what Casemiro was going through just a short while ago. There was a point where many fans and pundits had written him off completely. He looked slow. He was getting caught in possession. His reading of the game, which used to be almost perfect, seemed to have disappeared. People were calling him finished. Some were saying he was one of the worst signings in the club's recent history. That hurt, especially for a player who had done so much at Real Madrid. We are talking about someone who won 5 Champions League titles. 5. He was part of one of the greatest midfields in the history of European football. When United signed him in 2022, it felt like a real statement of intent. But things went wrong quickly. Results were bad. The team was struggling. And Casemiro, playing in a broken system, looked nothing like the player who had dominated European football. Then Michael Carrick came in as interim manager, and something changed. Under Carrick, Casemiro has looked reborn. The energy came back, the tackles came back, the goals came back. In his last 12 Premier League appearances, he has scored 5 goals. 5 goals from a defensive midfielder. That is remarkable. In April, his form was so good that he was named Player of the Month. The Old Trafford faithful fell back in love with him. At every home game, you could hear it. Fans singing, shouting, begging him to sign another deal. 1 more year. Just 1 more year. But even that was not enough to change his mind. The decision, why Casemiro is walking away. So here is the big question. If he is playing this well, if the fans love him, if the team is going back into the Champions League, why is he leaving? The honest answer is that this decision was made a long time before his recent good form. And it was not just Casemiro who made it. Manchester United made it too. Let us think about this from the club's perspective first. Casemiro earns around £350,000 per week. That is an enormous amount of money for any player, let alone a player who will be 35 years old next season. With Champions League qualification now secured, that weekly wage would also come with a 25% bonus on top. We are talking about a salary that could touch £430,000 per week or more. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, who now run the football side of the club, are on a mission to cut costs and rebuild the wage structure. They simply cannot justify paying that kind of money long-term for a player who, however brilliant right now, is on the wrong side of 34. Football is ruthless. Good form at 34 does not guarantee good form at 35 or 36. So from the club's perspective, letting Casemiro leave this summer actually makes financial sense. It frees up a massive chunk of the wage bill. That money can be reinvested into younger players who will be part of the club's future for the next 5 to 8 years, not just 1 more season. Now let us look at it from Casemiro's perspective. He is 34 years old. old, and he is playing some of the best football of his time at United right now. If you were in his shoes, what would you want to do? Would you want to stay one more year at United on a reduced deal, knowing that you might not always be first choice? Or would you want to go somewhere that wants you badly, pays you well, and lets you end your career on your own terms? That is what he means when he says he wants to leave through the front door. He does not want to be the player who stayed 1 year too long. He does not want to go from player of the month to being a squad player. He wants to walk out of Old Trafford while people are still chanting his name, while the ovation is high, as he put it himself. There is something very dignified about that. It is actually a mature and intelligent decision, even if it breaks your heart as a fan. The clause nobody is talking about properly now. Let us address something that has caused a lot of confusion online. You might have seen talk of a secret agreement or a hidden clause that could keep Casemiro at the club for another year. Some people have been saying there is a deal done behind closed doors. Let us be very clear about what actually happened. Casemiro's original contract did include a special clause. If he started 35 Premier League games in the 2025 to 2026 season, his contract would automatically extend by 1 more year, keeping him at Old Trafford until 2027. Sounds like exactly what fans want, right? Casemiro plays enough games, stays another year, problem solved. But here is what actually happened. Back in January 2026, Manchester United and Casemiro sat down and mutually agreed to remove that clause from the contract. They canceled it together. Both sides agreed. Why would they do that? Think about it from Michael Carrick's position. He became interim manager and immediately saw that Casemiro was a key player. He needed him in the starting lineup every single week. But if Casemiro started those games, the clause would trigger automatically, and the club would be locked into paying him £350,000 per week for another full season, plus Champions League bonuses, without any say in the matter. Ineos decided that was too big a financial risk to take. They could not afford to have an automatic extension kick in without planning for it. So they approached Casemiro, explained the situation, and both parties agreed to remove the clause so that Carrick could play him freely without accidentally locking the club into an unwanted financial commitment. That is the full story. There is no secret deal. There is no hidden agreement. The so-called secret was actually the opposite of what people think. The club and player agreed to make sure the extension would not happen. As of today, May 6th, 2026, there is no contract extension. Casemiro is leaving this summer. That is final. The Champions League factor, does it change anything? On May 3rd, 2026, Manchester United beat Liverpool 3-2 in what was one of the most dramatic results of the season. That win secured Champions League football for next season. It was a huge moment. After years of struggles and inconsistency, United are going back to the biggest stage in club football. And for a second, you might have thought, surely this changes things. Surely Casemiro would want one more run at the Champions League in a United shirt. But no. His decision did not change, and honestly, once you understand the full picture, it makes sense. Champions League or not, the financial conversation between the club and Casemiro was already settled. Ineos had already decided that the wage bill needed to come down. One big result against Liverpool, as incredible as it was not going to undo months of planning. Casemiro also confirmed this himself. He said on May 5th, the day after the Liverpool result had sunk in, that there is no possibility of him staying. He made his statement 2 days after United booked their Champions League spot. He knew about the qualification. He still said no. That tells you everything. The decision is made. Both sides have accepted it. Now it is time to look forward. Where is Casemiro going next? This is where things get really interesting and, to be honest, a little bittersweet for Red Devils fans. The strongest reports from multiple sources link Casemiro to Inter Miami in Major League Soccer in the United States. And not just any Inter Miami. We are talking about the Inter Miami that has Lionel Messi playing for them. Yes, That Messi, the greatest footballer of all time. Reports suggest that Casemiro has already reached what one source described as a mega money agreement to join Inter Miami. If that is confirmed, he would be reuniting with Messi, who is also his former rival from countless El Clasico battles and international matchups over the years. Now put yourself in his shoes one more time. You are 34. You have won everything there is to win in European football. You want to enjoy the final chapter of your career somewhere sunny, with a lucrative contract in a league that is not as physically demanding as the Premier League. And you get to play alongside Lionel Messi while you are at it. That is not a bad way to end things, is it? Inter Miami represents a grand farewell tour for a player of Casemiro's caliber. He would not be going there to hide or to fade away. He would be going there as a marquee signing, loved by fans, well paid, and playing in a team built around one of the greatest players in football history. It is hard to be angry at him for that choice. Who is coming in to replace him? Now, here is the part that matters most for the future of Manchester United. Casemiro is leaving. That is a given. But who fills that void in midfield? That is the most important question for United heading into the summer transfer window. The name that keeps coming up is Ederson from Atalanta. And no, not that Ederson. This is not Manchester City's goalkeeper. This is Ederson, the Brazilian central midfielder who plays for the Italian club Atalanta in Serie A. The timing on this story is actually quite fresh. Just hours ago, transfer journalist Matteo Moretto, speaking on Fabrizio Romano's YouTube channel, revealed some very significant details about where United stand in the race for Ederson. According to the report, United are ready to offer Ederson a net salary of €4.5 million per year, which works out at roughly £75,000 per week. That is a significant contract offer, and crucially, it has already pushed United ahead of Atletico Madrid in the running to sign him. Atalanta are asking for £39 million. That is their asking price. But with Ederson's contract running until only 2027, there is growing belief in the football world that Atalanta will accept a lower fee rather than risk losing him for nothing in a year's time. United, according to the report, have the greatest financial room of any club currently interested. So who is Ederson and why is he the right replacement? He is 25 years old. He is Brazilian, just like Casemiro. He plays in a very similar style, physical, combative, a strong ball winner who also has technical ability. This season, he has made 39 appearances for Atalanta in all competitions, scoring twice. He is not a flashy player. He does not make headlines every week, but he does the job quietly, consistently, and effectively. That sounds a lot like what Casemiro was at his best, does it not? Bringing in a 25-year-old for around £39 million to replace a 35-year-old earning £350,000 per week makes complete sense financially and footballing-wise. The wage saving alone from Casemiro's departure is enormous. Reinvesting some of that into a younger, long-term option in the same position is exactly the kind of smart business United need to be doing. Of course, deals are never done until they are done. No agreement has been reached with Atalanta yet. Arsenal have also asked about Ederson, and there are other clubs in the mix. But right now, United appear to be in pole position. What this means for Michael Carrick and United's future. There is another interesting layer to all of this. Michael Carrick came in as interim manager and transformed Casemiro's form. Under Carrick, Casemiro has been exceptional. There is clearly a great relationship between the two men, and Carrick has trusted Casemiro to be the engine of his midfield. But even that relationship, that trust, that on-field chemistry has not been enough to keep Casemiro at the club. This raises a bigger question for United fans. What does Michael Carrick's United look like next season without Casemiro in it? The honest answer is that it depends entirely on the summer transfer business. If United manage to sign Ederson or a player of similar quality, the midfield could be fine. A younger, hungry replacement coming into a team, going back into the Champions League under a manager who clearly knows how to get the best out of his players. That could be a very exciting combination. But if United fail to replace Casemiro properly, if they go into next season without an adequate holding midfielder, then the loss will be felt very quickly. The Premier League does not wait for anyone, and the Champions League is even less forgiving. This summer is genuinely one of the most important transfer windows in United's recent history. The foundation being built right now will determine what kind of club Manchester United are for the next 3 to 5 years. A message to the Red Devils community. Let us be real with each other for a minute. It hurts to see Casemiro go. It really does. When you watch him play right now, it is hard to believe this is the same player that people were writing off. He has pride, commitment, and a passion for winning that is obvious in every single game. The way he has responded to criticism, the way he has worked under Carrick, the way he has dragged himself back to elite level form at 34, it is genuinely impressive. But this is football. This is Manchester United in 2026. The club is going through a major rebuild under Ineos. Hard decisions are being made, painful ones. Good players are leaving because the wage structure has to change if the club is going to compete long term. Casemiro is not leaving because he failed. He is leaving because he succeeded. He is leaving on his own terms at the top of his game, with the fans singing his name after helping the club get back into the Champions League. That is a good exit. A rare one, actually. The question now is not how we mourn his departure. The question is how we build without him. Do you think Ederson is the right replacement? Can a 25-year-old Serie A midfielder come into the Premier League and fill the boots of a 5-time Champions League winner? And who else do you think United need to sign this summer to make a proper Champions League challenge next season? Let us talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The final verdict. Casemiro leaves as a legend. Here is the bottom line. Casemiro came to Manchester United in 2022. It was a difficult, often painful 4 years. There were lows that made everyone question the move. But in the end, he is leaving having done something genuinely remarkable. He turned his own story around. He silenced the critics. He helped this club get back to where it belongs, competing in European football's biggest competition. He is not leaving broken or rejected. He is leaving on his own terms, walking out through the front door, head held high, while the fans still chant his name. He wants to go to Inter Miami. He wants to play with Messi. He wants to enjoy the last chapter of his career on his terms. You cannot and should not begrudge him that. Manchester United, for their part, are already planning the future. Ederson from Atalanta is in their sights. The wage bill is being cleaned up. The Champions League is secured. The Casemiro era at Old Trafford is ending. But the story of Manchester United is just getting started again. Obrigado, Casemiro. You gave us more than you had to. You stayed classy until the very end. Now it is time to build what comes next. This article was written for the Red Devils Transfer Hub community. If you found this helpful or you have opinions about the Casemiro exit and what United should do next, share it with a fellow Red Devil and let the conversation continue.